I mean, the title might say review, but that's not really what this is going to be today. After all, the OnePlus 3T is out on the market for many months by now, and yet a lot of people want to know my opinion, and that's exactly what I want to give you today. So more of my personal opinion than what you usually get in my reviews. What you will get though as well is a detailed comparison between the 3T and the 5, just to help out those people who still struggle to decide if they should spend a little bit more money on the 5 or just go for the better value with the 3T. And I actually have to pace myself, and it will be quite hard not to compare them all the time in this video, because after all, the similarities are there and they are hard to be avoided. But what I don't want to do actually in this video is go a little bit deeper in things like, for example, the display, also like the sound, because the display won't blow anyone away, but in my opinion, especially due to the vibrant screen, due to the still after all quite nice overall experience, it is a fully satisfying display, and that's at the end what matters. It's not a flagship display per se anymore, but I really don't see an issue after using it for multiple days at a row. I got totally used to that, and even though I'm not blown away, I'm far off from being disappointed, and it totally matches the phone after all. Also the speaker, it's quite loud, it's not high quality, but it just gets the job done fine. Things that I would like to go into a little bit more though is the design and build quality, because just a quick comparison, and the more detailed one will come with the 5. You can see a little bit shorter, but actually noticeably wider, especially in terms of in-hand feel. Maybe not so much in terms of actual numbers, but the 3T has a little bit of some more tapered off wider curves, and the 5 has some more extreme ones, which actually make the device feel noticeably more narrow. So this is actually still fine, but it feels wider than I actually would have wished for. But it's still, for a 5.5 incher, has absolutely nice bezels, I would say. That still works. But it is things like, for example, the build quality. Super solid, nothing bends, buttons have a nice tactile feedback. Okay, I'm not the biggest fan of the power button placement, a little bit too high for me, and the volume rocker on the other side, but then there are things like the alert slider and also things like the really well working fingerprint reader and the absolutely nice overall appearance. So I definitely can't blame it for that, but there are actually more things like highlights, for example, the performance, because this actually can still easily hold up with all the flagships out there, even 2017 flagships, because I've actually tweeted that out and I said that I made a side-by-side comparison with the 3T and the 5, and in some ways I actually found the 3T to be better. Things changed a little bit, and I will get into that in just a few seconds, but I have to just say this is still super buttery smooth, very consistent, multitasking is great. But what I've noticed, and this is what I want to go a little bit more into it, just making it less of a review, is I've used this week for 4 days at a row, and I was blown away by the great, smooth, overall consistent performance. It just felt like any other, sometimes even better than some 2017 flagships. But you also have to consider one thing. The last day I've used the 5 just to get a better feel how they actually differ in terms of real life use. And then I noticed, yes, the 5 is a little bit smoother, a little bit more round, a little bit more responsive in some aspects. But does this actually make the difference? I would say no, because I was super pleased with that one, and it never felt like it would hold me back in any regard. And even in 2017 and way past that, it will give you an amazing performance. So the 5, a little bit better, but if that's worth it, I don't know. Where I would actually say it is maybe worth it more than in the performance part would be the battery part, because where I got on the 3T like 4.5 hours on mobile data, maybe like 6 on Wi-Fi, that is quite good. But on the 5 I got noticeably, I would say significantly more. How much more, I will get to that in the comparison, just as a teaser, but that could be more of the reason. Now, things like the software are for me the highlights, and I don't want to get into that. You could just watch so many videos out there, or also my 5 video, but you get things like the double tap gestures, the long press gestures on the buttons. You get this nice clean UI with the dark UI and the accent colors and all those minor optimizations with a really nice launcher actually. Of course, some other things like here, and that all absolutely knows to deliver, and that completely convinces me, and that's why I love this phone so much. For me, it's actually more about the software than a lot of people would actually expect. Now, the camera might be another part where you might say it's worth it going to the 5, and I will get into that a little bit more in the review, but just to get into a few pictures, as you can see, low light pictures are actually quite decent, I would say. Outside also, nice and sharp, and I just want to keep this brief because, as you can see, for me, this is still easily a very good camera. Yeah, the shutter is maybe the fastest one. The autofocus, though, was very reliable. I really liked it, and you can see pictures look totally nice in every aspect. And yes, it's not quite on the OnePlus 5 level, or of course other flagships, but I don't think the camera is what you are buying a OnePlus for. It's the custom ROM support and all the other things, because even, as you can see here, selfies look absolutely nice. And yeah, I actually want to just break this off here because I will get into that a little bit more in the comparison. But for me, even in 2017, this is a fully satisfying camera, and I don't think any normal OnePlus user who's looking out for the OnePlus qualities should complain about that, so I don't get all the fuss about it. It's not the best, but which camera actually is? There are only like a handful of cameras that are way more expensive that give you that little bit more, if that's worth it for you. So to actually get already to the point, not to make this any longer, because I don't think it is necessary. This phone, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I think it's like still for 440 at OnePlus if it's available. But if you just check Gearbest by now with flash sales, so many times by now it's available for $330, 340, or I mean euros or dollars, very similar to that. And finding a better phone in terms of overall as a package will be quite hard, because like I said, the design is super nice, the display is still fully satisfying, same goes for the speaker, the performance is great, the battery life, yeah, that's actually one thing where they could have improved a little bit more, even though it has the bigger battery than the 5. The 5 is noticeably better just because of the Snapdragon 835 being just so much more efficient, but software is amazing and the camera is still totally fine. So finding a better package, especially if you import it, which is available as an international version, this is kind of the phone still to get for. And I will just spoil this already. If you want the better value and not actually get a higher or an amazing upgrade with the 5, I think you should still go for the 3T, because I really like this phone. I'm not quite sure if I would go for it, because after all, there are phones that just suit me a little bit better than the 5 in my case, or the Xiaomi Mi 6. But the value, I gotta say, is incredible these days, and it is still a fully satisfying phone. It is a top-notch phone, and I really like it. And I actually kind of regret not having reviewed it earlier, but at least now you know what I think. So all the people who said to me, you have to check it, it's a great phone, and I was a little bit hesitant, I absolutely agree with those. Of course, not everyone likes them, because there are still a few things to hate about them, maybe sometimes their support and so on. But I never really got in contact with supports of other brands, so I can't actually judge that. But from what I see here from this package, I really liked it. And if I would have to make a wish list, what I would have liked to have: different button placement, minor thing, but battery life. That's kind of the good enough thing that I would have liked to have seen, like very good or even better. But that's pretty much it. So just in case to know, if I said the display is fully satisfying and the speaker is fully satisfying, this is still on a very good level. I just kept it a little bit more usual. I didn't want to use my general rating system as I usually do, just because I don't want to make this sound like the typical review. It's just what I see right now, even though this phone is out and it's not brand new anymore, but it's still an absolute legit buy and something that you should still definitely have on your list for the phones you should consider buying. And that's where I'm gonna leave it. Okay, I hope it helped you after all the way it was, and don't forget the comparison. That could help you. But yeah, we will see. Until next time. Bye.